was one of those sticky Atlanta afternoons in late May when the air felt like a warm, damp towel wrapped around your face. The kind of day where even the birds seemed to take it easy, chirping slower, hiding in the shade of oak trees. 17-year-old Maya had just finished her shift at the Community Learning Center, where she tutored kids in math after school. She didn't get paid much, just enough to help her mom with groceries and maybe save a few dollars for college applications, but she didn't mind. She liked helping, liked seeing a kid's eyes light up when a tough problem finally made sense. She walked home the long way, not because she wanted to, but because the shortcut through Oak Haven Estates was technically off limits to non-residents, as the sign at the gate politely but firmly reminded everyone. Still, sometimes she'd cut through the edge of the neighborhood when no security cars were around. It wasn't like she was sneaking in. She just walked along the sidewalk that ran right beside the tall stone wall and iron gates. Today, though, she stuck to the main road, earbuds in, listening to a podcast about nursing careers. She'd been thinking about that a lot lately, becoming a nurse, maybe even a paramedic, something where she could actually help people in real time. Then she saw it. Just past the main entrance of Oak Haven, near the side service gate that delivery trucks used, a small shape lay crumpled on the patchy grass between the sidewalk and the curb. At first, Maya thought it was a pile of clothes someone had dropped. But as she got closer, her stomach dropped. It was a little girl. She was wearing a light blue dress, white sneakers, and her dark hair was fanned out on the ground like she'd fallen mid-step. She wasn't moving. Maya yanked out her earbuds and ran. Her heart hammered against her ribs as she dropped to her knees beside the girl. Up close, she recognized her, Lily Chen. She'd seen her before, walking with a nanny or playing near the tennis courts inside the gated community. Her dad was that tech billionaire who'd been on the cover of Forbes last year, the kind of person Maya only knew from headlines and news clips, but right now none of that mattered. All that mattered was that this little girl wasn't breathing right. Maya checked for a pulse, fast, weak. Her skin was clammy and her lips looked a little pale. She gently shook her shoulder. Hey, can you hear me? No response. Maya's mind raced back to the first aid class she'd taken last summer at the Y-check breathing. Call for help. If unconscious but breathing, place in recovery position. But something felt off. This wasn't just fainting. The girl's breathing was shallow, uneven. Without thinking twice, Maya pulled out her phone and dialed 911. Her voice came out steadier than she felt. Yes, hi. I need an ambulance right away. There's a little girl, maybe 9 years old, unconscious on the ground near the Oak Haven Estate service gate on Peachtree Road. She's breathing, but really weak. I don't know what happened. The dispatcher stayed calm, guiding her through checking the girl's airway, asking if there was any medical ID. That's when Maya noticed it, a small silver locket around the girl's neck. She carefully opened it. Inside, etched in tiny letters, was a name, Lily, and a phone number with a note. In case of emergency, Dad. Maya didn't hesitate. While still on the line with 911, she quickly dialed the number from the locket. It rang twice, then 3 times. She was about to hang up when a man's voice answered, sharp, distracted like he'd been in the middle of something important. Hello? Maya took a breath. Sir, I don't know if you're Lily's dad, but your 9-year-old daughter is unconscious on the ground, right outside your neighborhood gate. I've called 911, but you need to come now. There was a beat of silence. Then the man's voice changed completely, like someone had yanked the confidence right out of him. What? Where? Who is this? My name's Maya. I was walking by. She's not waking up. The ambulance is on the way, but I'm on the next flight, he cut in, voice cracking. Tell them to keep her stable. Tell them. Just stay with her, please. I'm not going anywhere, Maya said. She ended the call and crouched back down, gently lifting Lily's head onto her folded jacket. She kept talking to her, soft and steady, like her first aid instructor had taught her. You're okay, Lily. Help is coming. Just hang on. Within minutes, sirens wailed in the distance. 2 police cruisers arrived first, then an ambulance, lights flashing red and white against the afternoon sun. Paramedics jumped out, already pulling gear from the back. One of them, a woman with kind eyes and a no-nonsense ponytail, knelt beside Maya. You the one who called? Maya nodded. She had this locket. I called her dad too. The paramedic gave her a quick, appreciative look. Good thinking. You did everything right. As they loaded Lily onto a stretcher, checking her blood sugar with a small device, one of the EMTs muttered, Severe hypoglycemia. Her pump must have failed. Maya didn't know what that meant exactly, but she saw the relief in their faces when they got a reading and started an IV. Lily stirred slightly, letting out a soft whimper. By then, a black SUV with tinted windows screeched to a halt nearby. Two men in suits jumped out, private security judging by the badges. They scanned the scene, zeroed in on Maya, and approached with stiff postures. "Who are you?" one asked, not unkindly but with clear suspicion. "I'm the one who found her," Maya said, standing slowly, brushing grass off her jeans. "I stayed until the ambulance came." The guards exchanged glances. One radioed in. "Got a civilian on scene, black female, teen, says she called it in." Maya felt her cheeks burn. Not because she'd done anything wrong, but because she knew how this looked. A girl from the other side of town, standing near the gates of one of Atlanta's richest neighborhoods next to a billionaire's child. She braced for questions, for doubt. But before they could say more, the lead paramedic stepped in. "She's the reason this kid's still breathing." Smart, calm followed protocol. "You should thank her." The guards backed off, murmuring into their radios. Within minutes they were gone, following the ambulance to the hospital. Maya stood alone on the sidewalk, the adrenaline fading, leaving her shaky and drained. She picked up her backpack, which she'd dropped in the rush, and started walking home. Her phone buzzed, a text from her mom. "You okay?" "Saw an ambulance near Oakhaven on the news." Maya typed back, "I'm fine. Just help someone. I'll tell you when I get home." She didn't mention the billionaire. Didn't mention the call. Part of her worried it would sound made up. Part of her just wanted to forget the whole thing, the fear, the weight of responsibility. The way the guards had looked at her like she might have caused the problem instead of solved it. But as she walked, her mind kept circling back to Lily's face, so small, so still. And to the voice on the other end of the phone. A powerful man brought to his knees by 3 words. "She's unconscious." Maya didn't know it yet, but that call had just tied their lives together in a way neither of them could undo by the time she reached her apartment. Complex, a modest brick building with peeling paint and a playground. Missing 2 swings, her legs ached and her throat felt dry. Her mom was waiting on the porch, arms crossed, eyes wide with worry. "You were on the local news," she said, holding up her phone. A shaky cell phone clip showed paramedics loading a stretcher near Oakhaven. In the background, barely visible, was Maya kneeling beside the girl. Maya sighed. "I didn't do anything special." Her mom pulled her into a tight hug. "Yes, you did. You did exactly what I taught you. See someone in trouble, you help. Doesn't matter who they are." Later that night, as Maya lay in bed staring at the ceiling, her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer. "Maya," a man's voice said, deep, tired, but urgent. "This is Robert Chen, Lily's father." She sat up. "Oh, hi. I needed to hear your voice. The hospital said you saved her life. They said if you hadn't acted so fast, if you hadn't known to check for medical ID." He choked up. Maya stayed quiet, letting him breathe. "I don't even know how to thank you," he finally said. "You don't have to," she replied softly. "I'm just glad she's okay." There was a long pause. Then quietly, "Can I meet you tomorrow? I'd like to thank you in person." Maya thought about it. About the guards, the news, the way the world seemed to tilt when rich and poor collided. But she also thought about Lily's hand, cold in hers, and how small she'd looked on that patch of grass. "Okay," Maya said, "but only if it's just you. No cameras. No reporters, I promise," he said, "just me. And my thanks." She hung up, heart still racing, but this time not from fear, from the strange, quiet hope that maybe, just maybe, one good thing could come from a terrible moment. Outside, the Atlanta night hummed with crickets and distant traffic. Somewhere across town, a billionaire sat by his daughter's hospital bed, wide awake, replaying a stranger's voice in his head, the voice that had pulled him back from the edge of unimaginable loss, and in a small apartment with thin walls and a flickering hallway light. A girl who'd never asked for anything stared at her ceiling and wondered what tomorrow would bring. The hospital waiting room smelled like antiseptic and stale coffee. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting a pale glow on the plastic chairs and worn carpet. Maya sat with her hands folded in her lap, wearing the same jeans and t-shirt from yesterday, her sneakers scuffed from walking. She hadn't planned on coming back, not after dropping off her statement with the paramedics and going home. But then the call came early that morning. "He's asking for you," her mom had said, handing her the phone. "Says he won't leave until he sees you." Maya almost said no. But something in the man's voice last night, the raw, unguarded fear, stuck with her. So she took the bus across town, heart thumping the whole way, rehearsing what she'd say if he offered her money. She wouldn't take it. Not because she was proud, but because it didn't feel right. She hadn't helped Lily for a reward. She'd done it because anyone would, or at least anyone should. Now sitting in that quiet room, she watched the clock tick past 10 a.m. Nurses walked by with clipboards speaking in low voices. A TV in the corner played morning news with the sound off. She kept her eyes down, fiddling with the frayed edge of her backpack strap. Then the doors swung open. He walked in alone. No bodyguards, no assistants, just a man in a wrinkled dress shirt, sleeves rolled up, dark circles under his eyes. He looked younger than she expected, but exhausted, like he hadn't slept in days. When his eyes landed on her, he stopped short. "You came," he said, voice rough. Maya stood up slowly. "Yeah." He crossed the room in 3 long strides and did something she didn't expect. He hugged her. Not a stiff, polite hug, but a real one, like he was holding on to something that kept him from falling. Maya stiffened at first, then relaxed just a little, patting his back awkwardly. "I'm sorry," he said, pulling back quickly, wiping his eyes with the back of his hand. "I haven't slept," the doctors said. They said another 10 minutes and it could have been brain damage. Or worse, Maya swallowed. "She's okay now?" "She's stable. Woke up this morning. Asked for you. That surprised her." "She did?" He nodded, a small, tired smile tugging at his lips. "Said a girl with kind eyes stayed with her. Called you her angel." He looked at Maya like he was seeing her for the first time. Not just the girl who made a call, but a real person. "I don't even know your name." "Maya." "Maya," he repeated like he was memorizing it. "Thank you. From the bottom of my soul." They sat down side by side, not too close. He didn't ask about her school, her family, her life. Just told her about Lily, how she had type 1 diabetes since she was 4, how the insulin pump was supposed to alert them if levels dropped, but it glitched, how she'd snuck out to look for her dog, a little golden retriever that had slipped its leash during a walk. She just wanted to find Max, he said, shaking his head. She didn't think. "Kids don't," Maya nodded. "I used to chase our neighbor's cat down the street when I was little. Got yelled at every time," he laughed, a real laugh, short but warm. "She's lucky it was you who found her. Not someone who walked past. Not someone who panicked." "I just did what I learned," Maya said. "My school made us take a CPR and first aid class last year. Said it might save a life someday. Well," he said quietly, "it did." A nurse came by then, smiling. "Mr. Chen? Lily's asking for you and for Maya." His eyes lit up. "She's awake?" "Fully alert." And stubborn as ever. He stood and looked at Maya. "Will you come see her? Just for a minute?" Maya hesitated. She wasn't family. Wasn't even a friend. But then she thought of Lily's pale face on the grass and how small she'd seemed. Okay. They walked down the hall to a private room. Inside, sunlight streamed through the blinds, and there she was, Lily propped up on pillows, IV in her arm, but smiling. Her eyes widened when she saw Maya. "You came back," she said, voice weak but bright. Maya stepped closer. "Hey," Lily held out her hand. Maya took it gently. "You stayed with me," the little girl said. "I remember your voice." Maya felt her throat tighten. "I'm glad you're okay." Lily turned to her dad. "Can Maya come visit again?" Before he could answer, Maya said, "I've got school." "But you saved me," Lily insisted, like that changed everything. Maya didn't know what to say. She glanced at the man, Robert, and saw him watching her with this look, like he was trying to figure out how to fix the whole world for her right then and there. Later in the hallway, he stopped her. "I want to do something for you. Not because you asked, but because I need to. Please." Maya shook her head. "You don't owe me anything, but I do," he said. "Not money, though I can help with that if you ever need it. But opportunity. Your school doesn't have the resources it should. I looked it up last night. Underfunded labs, outdated textbooks, no college counselors." Maya blinked. "You looked up my school?" "I looked up everything," he admitted. "Not to invade your privacy. To understand who you are. You're top of your class. You tutor kids after school. You want to be a nurse." She felt exposed, but not in a bad way, just seen. "I can get you into one of the best private schools in the city," he said. "Full scholarship. They have a medical prep track, labs, internships, direct pathways to nursing programs. You'd graduate with options." Maya's stomach twisted. It sounded amazing, but also impossible. "I can't just leave my school. My friends are there. My mom, it wouldn't be forever," he said gently. "Just your senior year. And I'd make sure your mom was taken care of. Transportation, meals, whatever you need." She didn't answer right away. The offer hung in the air, heavy with good intentions but also with distance, like he was trying to lift her out of her world instead of stepping into it. "I'll think about it," she said finally. He nodded. "Take all the time you need." That night, over a dinner of baked chicken and rice, Maya told her mom everything. The hospital visit, Lily's smile, the offer. Her mom was quiet for a long time, stirring her tea. "He means well," she said finally. "But those schools, they're not built for kids like us. You'll be the only one who looks like you in half the classes." "I know," Maya said. "But what if it's a chance I can't get anywhere else?" Her mom reached across the table and squeezed her hand. "Then you go. But you don't lose yourself in the process. You stay Maya, kind, smart, grounded. Don't let anyone make you feel small because you came from here." A week later, Maya accepted the offer, but with a condition. She met Robert at a quiet cafe downtown, far from cameras and headlines. "I'll go," she said, "but only if 3 other students from my school get the same chance. Not just me, my friend who codes better than half the kids in Silicon Valley, the girl who runs our debate team, and the boy who fixes cars in his garage and wants to be an engineer." Robert stared at her. "You're negotiating for others?" "I'm not taking a gift I didn't earn while my friends get left behind," she said simply. He leaned back, a slow smile spreading across his face. "You're something else, Maya." The next month was a whirlwind. Applications were fast-tracked. Interviews arranged. Within weeks, all 4 students had acceptance letters and full scholarships to Westridge Academy, a school with marble hallways, a robotics lab, and a college counseling office bigger than Maya's entire high school admin suite. The first day at Westridge felt like stepping onto another planet. Girls carried designer backpacks. Boys talked about summer homes in the Hamptons. No one wore hand-me-down shoes or brought lunch in reused grocery bags. Maya kept her head down, focused on her schedule, trying not to feel like an imposter. Lily, now recovered, started visiting during lunch. She'd wave from across the quad, dragging her dad behind her like a reluctant puppy. "Maya, come sit with us." But Maya always declined. "I've got study group," or "I'm meeting my lab partner." She didn't mean to be cold. She just didn't know how to be friends with someone whose life was so different. Lily lived in a house with more bathrooms than Maya's apartment had rooms. She'd never worried about the electricity being cut off, never had to choose between new shoes and groceries. One afternoon, Lily cornered her after chemistry class. "Why won't you hang out with me?" she asked, eyes wide and hurt. Maya sighed. "It's not you, it's complicated." "But you saved my life," Lily said. "Like that should erase everything." "I did," Maya said gently, "and I'm glad you're okay. But that doesn't mean we're suddenly best friends." Lily looked down, scuffing her expensive sneakers on the tile floor. I don't have anyone who really gets me. Everyone treats me like I'm made of glass because of my diabetes, or because of who my dad is." Maya softened. "I get that, but I can't be your project, Lily. I'm not here to make you feel better about what happened. I'm here to get an education." Lily nodded slowly. "Okay, then. Can we just be regular? Like you help me with algebra, I help you with Spanish?" Maya almost laughed. "You're offering to tutor me?" "I got a B+ last term," Lily said proudly. For the first time, Maya saw her not as a billionaire's daughter, but as a kid, trying, stumbling, wanting to connect. "All right," Maya said. "But no special treatment? And no telling your dad I said yes," Lily grinned. "Deal." Back home, things were harder. Some kids at her old school whispered that she'd sold out, that she was acting white now. Even her best friend gave her the cold shoulder for a week. "You think you're too good for us now?" he'd asked. "No," Maya said. "I'm trying to bring something back. But you've got to believe that." Meanwhile, online, a blurry photo of her with Robert outside the hospital went viral. Conspiracy pages claimed she'd staged the whole thing for fame, that she was part of a scam. Her mom had to call the school when hateful comments started showing up on their voicemail. Through it all, Maya kept her head down, studied hard, and showed up for her new classes, her old neighborhood, and the uneasy middle ground between two worlds. One evening, as she walked home from the bus stop, her phone buzzed. It was Robert. "Lily asked me something today. She said, 'Why is Maya so sad sometimes?' I didn't know what to say. 'Is she okay?' Maya typed back, 'She's fine, just adjusting.' But the truth was she was tired of code switching, tired of explaining herself, tired of feeling like she had to prove she belonged in both places, and failing at both. Still, when she got home and saw her little cousin practicing math problems at the kitchen table, using the worksheets Maya had brought home, she remembered why she'd said yes. It wasn't about the fancy school. It wasn't about the billionaire's gratitude. It was about showing kids like her cousin that someone from their block could walk into those marble halls and walk out with something worth sharing and maybe, just maybe, build a bridge between worlds that had been kept apart for too long. The first few months at Westridge felt like walking a tightrope with no net. Maya showed up every day in clean clothes, hair neatly braided, notebook full of questions, but she still felt like an outsider looking in. At lunch, she sat with the 3 other scholarship students from her old school. They stuck together, not out of choice, but because no one else really invited them to sit anywhere else. The other kids were polite enough, but there was a quiet distance, like they weren't sure how to talk to someone who didn't summer in Europe or own a horse. Lily tried. She really did. She'd wave from across the cafeteria, slide into the seat next to Maya during study hall, and once even brought her a cupcake just because. But her kindness sometimes felt like another kind of pressure, like Maya was supposed to be grateful not just for the school, but for Lily's friendship too. And that didn't sit right. One afternoon after biology lab, Lily cornered her near the lockers. "Why don't you ever come to my house?" she asked, fiddling with the strap of her designer backpack. "Dad says you can come anytime. We've got a pool, a movie room, even a mini arcade." Maya zipped up her worn backpack. "I've got tutoring after school, and chores. But it's the weekend tomorrow," Lily pressed. "Just for a few hours?" "Please," Maya hesitated. She'd never been inside a house like that. Part of her was curious, but another part, the part that remembered the way the security guards looked at her that day, was wary. "Okay," she finally said, "but just for a couple hours." Saturday morning, a black town car picked her up outside her apartment. The driver didn't say much, just nodded politely and held the door. As they drove through neighborhoods lined with trees and perfectly trimmed hedges, Maya watched the world change outside the window, older buildings giving way to gates, then driveways longer than her block, then houses that looked more like museums than homes. Lily's house was something else. White stone, tall windows, a fountain in the front courtyard. Inside it was quiet, too quiet. No TV blaring, no neighbors yelling, no sirens in the distance. Just soft music playing somewhere and the click of expensive shoes on marble floors. Lily ran to greet her, barefoot in pajamas, dragging a golden retriever behind her. "You're here. This is Max. He's the reason I got in trouble that day." The dog wagged his tail and sniffed Maya's shoes. She knelt down and scratched behind his ears. "Hey, Max." For a while it was fun. They played games in the arcade room, watched a movie with popcorn, and Lily showed her the greenhouse where her dad grew orchids. But then Lily's father walked in holding 2 tablets and looking stressed. "Oh, Maya, welcome," he said, forcing a smile. "Lily's told me you're helping her with algebra." "A little," Maya said. He nodded, then turned to Lily. "Sweetheart, I need you to check your glucose before lunch. And don't forget your afternoon reading." Lily groaned. "Dad, I'm fine." "I know, but we can't take chances." He left, but the mood shifted. Lily's shoulders slumped. "He's been like that since..." Maya understood. Trauma didn't just vanish because someone woke up in a hospital. It lingered in overprotective glances and tightened rules and the way a parent's voice cracked when they said your name. Later, as they sat by the pool, Lily asked quietly, "Do you ever wish you had more?" Maya looked at the water shimmering under the sun. "More what?" "More everything. A bigger house. New clothes. Not having to worry about money." Maya thought about her mom working double shifts at the hospital cafeteria, about the leak in their bathroom ceiling they couldn't afford to fix, about choosing between new shoes and bus fare. Yeah, she admitted. Sometimes. But having more doesn't fix everything. My mom says peace of mind is worth more than a big house. Lily was quiet for a long time. Then she said, I have a big house, but I don't have peace of mind. That hit Maya harder than she expected. Back at school on Monday, things got worse. Someone had taken a photo of her at Lily's house standing by the fountain and posted it online with the caption, "From the projects to the palace." Guess who's living the dream? By lunchtime, kids were whispering. One girl in her history class smirked and said, "Must be nice to get adopted by a billionaire." Maya's face burned, but she kept her head down. She didn't want to cause trouble. But that night, her phone blew up with messages from her old neighborhood. People she'd known since elementary school were calling her a sellout, saying she'd forgotten where she came from. Even her cousin asked, "You gonna start talking like them now?" She cried that night, quietly under her blanket so her mom wouldn't hear, not because of the rumors, but because she felt pulled in two directions, like she couldn't be fully herself in either place. The breaking point came during a school assembly. Westridge was announcing a new scholarship fund in honor of community heroes. The headmaster called Maya to the stage, saying she'd inspired generosity through selfless action. Cameras flashed. Parents clapped. Lily beamed from the front row, but all Maya felt was exposed. Like her pain, her neighborhood, her life had been turned into a feel-good story for rich people to pat themselves on the back about. Afterward, Robert found her outside, sitting on a bench under a tree. "You didn't look happy up there," he said gently. "I didn't ask to be a symbol," she said, not looking at him. "I just helped a kid who needed help." "I know," he said. "And I'm sorry if it felt like we were using you." "You weren't trying to," she said. "But it still happened." He sat beside her. "What do you need, Maya?" "Truly," she took a breath. "Stop treating me like I'm broken, or special, or a project. I'm just a person trying to get through the day like everyone else." He nodded slowly. "Fair." A few days later, something changed. Lily stopped inviting her over. Not because she was mad, but because she'd overheard kids making fun of Maya in the hallway and realized her friendship might be making things harder. Instead, she started sitting with Maya and the other scholarship students at lunch. At first, it was awkward. The others didn't trust her. But Lily didn't act like she was doing them a favor. She just showed up, brought extra snacks, asked about their classes, listened. Slowly, walls began to crack. One afternoon, during a group study session in the library, Lily admitted, "I used to think my life was hard because I had to check my blood sugar all the time. But you guys, you deal with real stuff every day." Maya looked up from her textbook. "We all have our battles. Yours just happened to come with a mansion." Lily laughed, a real unguarded laugh. "Touché." Meanwhile, Robert quietly pulled back. He stopped showing up at school events unless invited. He donated to Maya's old school, not with fanfare, but through anonymous grants for science labs and after-school programs. He even funded a free health screening day in her neighborhood, including diabetes checks for kids. But the real shift came when Lily, inspired by Maya's stories about kids not knowing basic first aid, pitched an idea to her dad, a teen emergency response club, not just for rich kids, but for students from all over the city. They'd learn CPR, how to handle allergic reactions, what to do if someone passes out. Robert loved it. But he didn't take over. He asked Maya to co-lead it. At first, she said no. "I don't want this to be another billionaire saves the day thing." "It won't be," Lily promised. "It'll be ours." Maya thought about it. Really thought. Then she said yes, but only if they held the first training session at her old community center. The day of the event, kids from both schools showed up, some in hoodies, some in polos, all curious. Maya stood at the front, demonstrating how to use an EpiPen on a training dummy. Lily helped pass out handouts. For the first time, no one was the poor kid or the rich kid. They were just students learning how to help each other. Afterward, as they packed up, Lily turned to Maya. "You know, I used to think heroes wore capes or had millions of dollars." Maya smiled. "And now? Now I know they wear sneakers, carry backpacks, and show up when no one else will." Maya didn't say anything. She just bumped Lily's shoulder with her own, a small, quiet gesture of friendship that didn't need words. That night, she called her mom. "I think I'm starting to find my place," she said. "Where's that?" Her mom asked. "Right in the middle," Maya said, not choosing one world over the other. "Building something new." Her mom was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "That's my girl." The road wasn't smooth. There were still days when Maya felt like she didn't belong. Days when the whispers followed her down the hall. Days when she missed the easy comfort of her old neighborhood. But now she had something she didn't before. Allies. Not just Lily, but the other scholarship students who'd become like family. Teachers who saw her for her mind, not her address. And even Robert, who'd learned that the best way to help wasn't to lift someone out of their life, but to walk beside them in it. One evening, as she walked home from the bus stop, her phone buzzed. It was a text from Lily. "First aid club meeting tomorrow. We're doing choking drills. Bring your A game." Maya smiled and typed back. "Always." She looked up at the sky. Same stars, same city, same girl. But something inside her had shifted. She wasn't just surviving two worlds anymore. She was learning how to bring them together. It started with a video, just 30 seconds long, shaky and grainy, shot on someone's phone in the school hallway. It showed Maya accepting a folder from Robert during a quiet moment after a first aid club meeting. He'd handed her information about a summer internship at a children's hospital, something she'd been working toward for months. But the video cut off before that part. All it showed was him giving her an envelope, her smiling slightly and then walking away. By the next morning, it was everywhere. Online, the caption read, "Billionaire pays off hero girl to keep quiet. Real story finally exposed." Comments flooded in, some calling Maya a liar, others accusing Robert of covering up negligence. Conspiracy pages claimed the whole unconscious daughter story was staged to boost his public image. One post even suggested Maya had tampered with Lily's insulin pump herself. The video spread like wildfire, shared by accounts with millions of followers, twisted just enough to sound plausible. At school, the whispers turned into stares. Kids who'd barely noticed her before now watched her like she was a fraud. Even some of the scholarship students gave her sideways glances, unsure what to believe. Lily was furious. She posted a tearful video defending Maya, but it got drowned out by the noise. Maya tried to ignore it. She kept going to class, kept tutoring, kept showing up to first aid club meetings, but the weight of it pressed down on her chest like a stone. Her mom started getting hang-up calls late at night. A neighbor told her someone had left a nasty note on their door. Fake heroes don't belong here. One afternoon, after a particularly brutal day, where a boy in chemistry muttered "paid actress" as she walked by, Maya sat on the bus ride home with her forehead pressed against the cool window. She didn't cry. She was too tired for that. She just felt hollow, like everything she'd done, everything she'd tried to build, was being erased by a lie wrapped in pixels. That evening, Robert called. His voice was tight with anger. "They're twisting the truth. I won't let this stand. What are you going to do?" Maya asked, voice flat. "I'm calling a press conference tomorrow at City Hall. I'll set the record straight." Maya's stomach dropped. "No, please don't. Why not?" "They're destroying your name." "Because if you do it," she said quietly, "it'll just look like you're protecting your investment, like I'm your puppet, and then no one will ever believe I did what I did just because it was right." He was silent for a long moment. "Then what do you suggest?" She took a deep breath. "Let me speak." There was a pause. "Are you sure? The cameras, the questions, they'll be brutal." "I've handled worse," she said, "and if I don't stand up for myself now, I'll spend the rest of my life proving I'm not a fraud." The next day, City Hall's press room was packed. Reporters from local news, national outlets, even a few online influencers with massive followings. Cameras clicked. Microphones were raised. Robert stood at the podium, but after a brief introduction, he stepped aside. "This isn't my story to tell," he said. "It belongs to the young woman who acted with courage when it mattered most. Please listen to her." All eyes turned to Maya as she walked to the mic. She wore the same simple outfit she always did. Jeans, a clean t-shirt, her hair in two neat braids. No makeup, no fancy clothes. Just her. She looked out at the crowd, heart pounding, but she didn't look away. "I didn't save Lily because I wanted fame," she began, voice steady. "I didn't do it for money or a scholarship or a spot on the news. I did it because I saw a little girl on the ground who wasn't breathing right, and I knew how to help. That's it, she paused, swallowed. I grew up learning that if you see someone in trouble, you help. Doesn't matter who they are. My grandma taught me that. My mom lives that every day, working double shifts so I can have a chance. So when I saw Lily lying there, I didn't see a billionaire's daughter. I saw a kid who needed someone. A reporter raised a hand. But why should we believe you? The video looked suspicious. Maya didn't flinch. Because the truth doesn't need editing. The real video, the full one, shows Mr. Chen giving me info about a hospital internship I applied for months ago. Not cash, not a payoff. An opportunity I earned, and if you want proof, ask the paramedics who were there. Ask the 911 operator. Ask Lily herself. Another voice. Why didn't you come forward sooner? Because I didn't think I had to, she said simply. I didn't do it for applause. I did it because it was the right thing. And I shouldn't have to defend that. She looked around the room, meeting eyes where she could. You can believe what you want, but don't let a 30-second clip erase the truth of what happened that day. Don't let lies drown out the fact that ordinary people do good things every day, without cameras, without rewards, without anyone noticing. Then she stepped back. No dramatic exit, no tears, just quiet dignity. The room was silent for a beat. Then one reporter started clapping. Then another. Soon the whole room was applauding, not because she was perfect, but because she was real. That night, the tide turned. News outlets ran the full story, this time with context, with interviews from the EMTs, with Lily's tearful confirmation. The original video was flagged for misinformation. Social media buzzed, but now with support. She spoke like someone who's lived truth, not performed it. Donations poured into the community center where Maya's first aid club met. A local hospital offered free CPR training for teens citywide, and the school board announced a new, citywide initiative to teach basic emergency response in all public high schools, starting with Maya's old school. But the biggest change happened quietly. A few days later, a group of kids from Westridge, kids who'd never spoken to Maya before, showed up at the community center. We want to join the club, one said awkwardly. We saw what you said, and we want to learn how to help too. Maya welcomed them without judgment. Meanwhile, Robert made a decision. Instead of funding another flashy program, he quietly partnered with the city to launch a mobile health unit, staffed by nurses and techs, that would travel to underserved neighborhoods, offering free screenings, insulin pump checks, and emergency response kits for families with diabetic children. He put Maya and Lily on the advisory board, not as figureheads but as real voices shaping how it worked. One Saturday, as they helped set up the unit's first stop in Maya's neighborhood, Lily turned to her. You changed everything, you know. Maya shook her head. We did, no, Lily said. You stood up when it would have been easier to disappear. That's courage. Maya looked around at kids lining up for free glucose tests, at parents asking questions they'd been too scared or too busy to ask before, at volunteers handing out water and information packets. This was what mattered. Not headlines, not viral moments, but real help reaching real people. That evening as she walked home, her phone buzzed. It was a message from her old math teacher, the one who'd pushed her to take that first aid class. Saw you on the news. You made us proud. Not because you were on TV, but because you stayed true. Maya smiled. For the first time in weeks, the weight was gone. Later, she sat on her porch with her mom, watching fireflies blink in the dusk. You handled that like a grown woman, her mom said, sipping sweet tea. I just told the truth, Maya said. Sometimes that's the hardest thing to do, her mom replied, especially when the world's shouting lies. Inside, the TV played a news segment about the new health initiative. The reporter called it a grassroots movement sparked by one act of kindness. Maya didn't correct them. She knew the truth was messier, more human, full of doubt, fear, and second chances. But maybe that was okay. Maybe the world needed simple stories sometimes. Stories that reminded people that good still exists, even in complicated times. A few days later, the First Aid Club held a certification ceremony. 20 teens, rich, poor, from every corner of the city, stood in a circle, each holding a CPR card. Maya and Lily stood in the center. You all did this, Maya said. Not me, not him. She nodded toward Robert, who stood quietly in the back, watching with pride but not stepping forward. You showed up. You learned. You chose to care. Afterward, as the group broke into laughter and hugs, Lily pulled Maya aside. "What's next?" she asked. Maya looked out at the group. Kids who a year ago wouldn't have spoken to each other, now planning a joint fundraiser for emergency kits in schools. "I think," she said slowly, "we keep building. One life at a time." And in that moment, under the fading afternoon sun, it felt possible. Not because of money or fame, but because ordinary people, when they choose kindness over suspicion, can stitch the world back together, one honest act at a time. 5 years had passed since that hot afternoon on the sidewalk near Oak Haven Estates, but Maya still remembered the exact feeling, the tightness in her chest, the way her hands shook as she dialed the number from the locket, the quiet fear in the billionaire's voice when she told him his daughter was unconscious. Now, standing in front of a crowd under a bright Atlanta sun, she smoothed the front of her navy blue scrubs and took a slow breath. She wasn't the scared teenager anymore. She was 22, a nursing student in her final semester. And today was the opening day of the West End Youth Wellness and Emergency Training Center, the first community-built space of its kind in the city. The building wasn't fancy. No marble floors or chandeliers. Just clean white walls, wide windows, and a mural on the side painted by local teens. Hands of all shades reaching toward a heart made of medical symbols, stethoscopes, bandages, EpiPens, and a small silver locket tucked in the corner. Inside there were exam rooms, a simulation lab with mannequins that blinked and breathed, and a classroom where kids would learn how to respond if someone collapsed, had an allergic reaction, or needed help before an ambulance arrived. Maya hadn't done this alone. Beside her on the small outdoor stage stood Lily, now 14, taller, more confident, her insulin pump discreetly clipped to her waistband. She'd grown into a passionate advocate, speaking at conferences about living with diabetes and pushing for better access to medical tech in schools. The two of them had co-founded the Ready Hands initiative. Together, a nonprofit that trained teens in emergency response and placed free emergency kits in underserved neighborhoods. And standing a few steps behind them, not on the stage but in the front row with his arms crossed and a quiet smile, was Robert. He didn't speak at the ceremony. He hadn't asked to. He'd long since learned that the best way to support was to listen, fund quietly, and step back when it was time for others to lead. The mayor gave a short speech, thanking the visionaries behind the center. Reporters snapped photos, but no one shouted questions or looked for drama. The story had settled into something real now, something people trusted because they'd seen it grow. Year after year through bake sales, school drives, and late-night planning sessions in Maya's living room. After the ribbon cutting, kids from the neighborhood poured in, some shy, some bouncing with excitement. Volunteers handed out T-shirts with the Ready Hands logo, 2 palms pressed together, one with a bandage, the other with a heartbeat line. In the simulation room, a group of middle schoolers practiced chest compressions on dummies, laughing when the machine beeped. "Good job." "Keep going." Maya watched from the doorway, arms folded, heart full. This was what she'd dreamed of, not fame, not escape, but a place where kids like her cousin, like her old classmates, could learn to save lives without waiting for someone from the outside to come in and fix things. Later, as the crowd thinned and the sun dipped low, Lily found her sitting on the steps outside. "You're quiet," Lily said, plopping down beside her. "Just thinking," Maya said, "about how weird it is that one moment, just a few minutes on a sidewalk, changed everything." Lily nodded. "I used to think my life started the day I got diagnosed. But now I think it really started the day you didn't walk past me." Maya smiled. "I didn't save you, you know." Lily raised an eyebrow. "You literally kept me breathing." "No," Maya said gently. "You kept fighting. I just held space for you until help came. That's all anyone can really do for each other. Hold space." Lily was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Dad told me something last week. He said before that day he thought success was building companies, making money, changing the world through tech. But now he says the only thing that matters is whether you made someone feel seen." Maya looked at her. "He's changed." "He had to," Lily said. "You showed him that compassion isn't a weakness. It's the strongest thing there is." Inside the center, music started playing, soft, upbeat, and a few kids began dancing near the mural. Maya's mom walked over holding 2 cups of lemonade. She handed one to Maya, the other to Lily. "You two built something beautiful," she said, voice thick with pride. "We had help," Maya said. "You had heart," her mom corrected. "That's what got you here." As evening settled, Robert approached. He didn't say much, just handed Maya a small envelope. "What's this?" she asked. "Not money," he said quickly, "just something I thought you should have." She opened it. Inside was a printed photo, the original one from that day, recovered from a traffic camera near Oak Haven. It showed her kneeling beside Lily, one hand on the girl's shoulder, the other holding her phone. Her face was focused, calm, full of purpose. On the back, in neat handwriting, he'd written, "The moment the world got better." Maya's eyes stung. She folded the photo carefully and tucked it into her pocket. "Thank you," she said. He nodded. "No, thank you for showing us what really matters." Later that night, after the last volunteer left and the lights were turned low, Maya stayed behind to lock up. She walked through each room slowly. The classroom with its whiteboard still covered in notes from the day's lesson. The supply closet stocked with bandages and glucose tablets. The little office she and Lily shared, filled with pinned-up thank you letters from kids who'd used their training to help a sibling, a friend, even a stranger. She stopped in front of the mural again. In the moonlight, the silver locket glinted faintly. She thought about all the times she'd doubted herself, when the rumors flew, when she felt like an imposter at Westridge, when she wondered if she'd made the right choice by stepping into two worlds at once. But now, standing here, she knew she hadn't chosen one over the other. She'd built a bridge between them, and others were walking across it every day. Back home, she called her grandma, the woman who'd taught her to help first, ask questions later. Her grandma was 90 now, hard of hearing but sharp as ever. "Did you open it?" she asked, voice crackling through the phone. "The center? Yeah, and? It's full of life," Maya said. "Kids laughing, learning, helping each other. Just like you taught me." Her grandma chuckled. "Good. That's how you change the world, not with speeches but with hands that reach out." Maya hung up and sat on her bed, the photo from Robert resting on her nightstand. Outside, the city hummed. Cars, distant music, the occasional siren. Normal life. Beautiful life. She thought about the future. She'd graduate in a few months, become a registered nurse, maybe specialize in community health. Lily was already planning to study biomedical engineering, determined to design better, more affordable insulin pumps for kids who couldn't afford the fancy ones. And Ready Hands? They were expanding to 3 more cities next year. None of it was perfect. There were still days when the world felt divided, when money and race and privilege created walls that seemed too high to climb. But Maya had learned something powerful. You don't need to tear down the whole wall at once. You just need to build a door, and then hold it open for the next person. The next morning, she returned to the center early. A group of high schoolers was already there, setting up for a weekend training session. One of them, a girl with braids and nervous eyes, approached her. "I saw you on the news once," the girl said, "when you spoke at City Hall. I want to be like you." Maya knelt to meet her at eye level. "You don't have to be like me. You just have to be ready to help when someone needs you. That's enough." The girl nodded, standing a little taller. As Maya walked back inside, she passed a mirror in the hallway. For a second, she saw not just herself, but the girl she'd been 5 years ago, scared, unsure, standing on a sidewalk with the weight of a life in her hands. She smiled at her reflection. "You did good," she whispered. And then she turned, pushed open the classroom door, and stepped into the light.